You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold, episode 48. Today we welcome in Tom Economy, experienced litigator at Christensen Law in Michigan. Tom is the first in a series of guests of attorneys from Christensen Law that we will be having on our podcast. So I'm very excited to have you here. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you for having me, and I'm excited to be here.
For sure. Thanks for taking time out of your evening. How are things in Michigan COVID-wise? Things starting to open up a little bit?
Yeah, things are really starting to loosen up. I think everybody is ready to kind of get outside and get back to a little bit of a more normal life. Everybody's been kind of worn down across the country, and we're no different. But yeah, things seem to be pretty good. My wife's a physician. So I kind of get the reports of, how the hospitals are doing, and seems like, things are slowing down a little bit in terms of the cases. So that's good.
So you're like the go-to guy at the office. Everybody's asking you what's going on. Like, what does your wife say? And,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
She's a pediatrician. So anyone with kids at the office too.
Yeah. No, I bet.
Cell phone number.
No, I bet. I got to say, I really like Michigan. A couple of my close friends actually married women from Michigan, and we're all from Maine. So, it's just every time I've gone out there like 2 or 3 times, always have good experience, always like nice people. I mean, I know you got to take people by the individual, but definitely Michiganders. Is that what you guys are called out there?
Yeah, you got it right.
Yeah. It's that's awesome. So, and first off, I do want to say that I love your TikTok. So if everybody's listening here, go follow it. Go follow TikTok, David Christensen Law. You do some awesome spoofs. I saw the Office one today, which was wicked cool. And then there was some other ones just funny, good stuff. So keep that content rolling. I'm trying to get my account going a little bit.
Yeah.
I haven't done too much on it, but you could check it out later if you want.
I think you're doing a great job. I've really enjoyed watching a lot of the videos, and it's very inspiring.
Cool. Thank you very much. So we have your lawyer story that we will post soon. I'm looking forward to that because it is a very good story, an interesting story. You start off talking about growing up in suburban Detroit.
Yeah.
So, can you just tell us a little bit about what that was like?
Well, I've read and watched a lot of the videos on your podcasts and your Instagram account, and I feel I grew up pretty normal, suburban life, and it's all these people, these other stories that you have. These people have these amazing life stories, but at the end of the day, everybody has a story. Everyone has a life story. Growing up in Detroit, my father worked for the phone company. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, but former elementary school teacher, and it was great. I mean, we just, I was an 80s kid. So it was pre-cell phone, pretty much pre-internet.
Yeah.
And so we were, outside a lot, playing football, making up whatever. I mean, I sound like an old man now talking about, the old days, but it was great. And then, I know you're a New Englander, but with the bad boy Pistons, that was always a good thing.
Didn't I? So you're a Pistons fan, huh?
We had to overcome your Celtics. I mean,
you're a Pistons fan? Is that right?
I'm sorry?
You're a Pistons fan.
Yeah, we all were.
I'm just going to shut this down right now. No.
You know what though? Larry Bird is one of my favorite players of all time. Yeah. I mean, it was.
Isaiah Thomas had he had a lot of controversy around him, not getting on the dream team in '92. But okay, sorry. Bird was one of your favorite players. Let's hear it. Yes, legend Larry.
Not at the time. Now he is.
Right.
Looking back, but no, it was kind of growing up in Detroit. They were, just talking about the Pistons. They were kind of indicative of who we were. I mean, they were tough. They were the underdog. it was Boston, LA, the whole 80s. And then we came in and said, hey, we'd like a seat at the table too. So that's kind of how it was growing up in Detroit. Like in the Detroit area, you always kind of had that underdog mentality, but it was wonderful. It's a great place to grow up.
That's all. And by the way, like, did I see a clip where like back in the 80s when they played ball, like Parrish either like punched Lambier down low or like vice versa, and like they didn't even call a foul. Like that's how it was back then.
They called the
ran down the court. That was it.
I know. I tell my son, he talks about, Kyrie and Steph, and I said, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Those guys be on their back now, back then. But anyway,
you had to bring up Kyrie and me being a Celtics fan. All right. Anyway, so like we said, we had your lawyer story, so like, when did you know? Like, a question I like to ask is like, when did you know that you wanted to be an attorney? I know you had, you said what your parents did. Your dad was at the phone company. Your mom was staying home and a teacher. But your uncles, right? You had like 3 uncles who were attorneys.
Yeah. So I had growing up, I wanted to go into business.
Right.
And my father had some friends that were, entrepreneurs, business developers, prominent people in Detroit, people that are still prominent. And I always, my father wasn't a lawyer. So I always thought, I want to go into business. I kind of, wanted to emulate that lifestyle, but it didn't really fit my skill set. And my uncle, my dad's brother, was a lawyer. He ended up becoming a judge when I was pretty young, and about 12, 13. And my mom's brother was a lawyer. And I call him my uncle. He was my dad's first cousin. He was a lawyer too. So it's kind of in the family blood. So, it was, what I like to say is that there were seeds that were planted through my life as I look back on it now, where at the time I didn't realize, this is important. And then later on, those seeds grow and they end up influencing, my career or my life. And that was kind of how it was with law. When I started at Michigan, I wanted to go into business, go to the business school, and that ended really quickly. I got hammered in my business classes.
You just didn't like it, or it was just very difficult?
Both. Yeah. It didn't fit my skill set.
Okay.
I like to joke that the most math I can do is I can calculate a third, but
pretty good actually.
But so my dad pushed me in a not so gentle way. He said to take the LSAT in my senior year of college.
Okay, so kind of, did it hit you then that like that's what you should do? Like maybe that's what you're.
Yeah.
Okay, my uncles do this. They make a good living, and that's
right. It did. And like I said, they were seeds planted from a very young age where they started to grow a little bit. And I was a political science major, so my options were limited at that point. But it definitely intrigued me, and it was good advice.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, and you went to Michigan undergrad, Michigan, and then you went to law school at Michigan State, right? So how do you reconcile those right there?
Hey,
that's not getting by me, Tom. Like I know the big rivalry.
You did your homework.
Yeah.
I was at actually Michigan State in law school when we won the national championship with Charles Woodson. Wow. So my loyalty is 100% with my undergraduate degree.
Okay. There you go. All right. But your experience in law school, what was that like? Was that a good experience? Like, was there anything you disliked or liked particular?
No, the first day of law school, I was in my comfort zone.
Right. And you said that in your story. So you said shortly after starting law school, I knew it. I had found my path. Yeah. So like, what does that mean?
Well, I was good at it. And, I tell my son, and figure out what you're good at and what you enjoy. And I was good at it and I enjoyed it. It seemed like I was well suited to analyzing facts. And, in law school, you're reading sample cases, and then professor calls on you, you have to stand up and explain it. And I was good on my feet. I've always been comfortable speaking in front of people. So when you're good at something, obviously it helps your self-esteem and your confidence. So yeah, it definitely felt like this was what I wanted to do.
Yeah, well, I got to say, I love that advice that you gave your son. I think that's super important to do what you like, and after you find what you're good at. Because I think if you find something, I think you probably like something that you're good at, or you're
Yeah,
good at something you like, vice versa. So I think that that's really solid advice, to do
I,
that.
I agree. I mean, I think a lot of parents, more so maybe in my generation, push their kids to do certain specific things, and I think that that isn't necessarily a healthy thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. I think when you're happy, you win. Like when you're happy. So
100%.
yeah. Do you see them going in that, your kids going in that direction, do you think? In law, maybe
I
eventually?
hope not. No, I'm just kidding.
You hope not.
No, I'm just teasing. I want them to figure out what they like and whatever. I told my son, if you're an expert in butterflies, if that's what you want to do, then do that. But just be
Right.
good at it and put everything that you have into it.
Yeah.
Um, when he was playing sports, I said I had a couple rules. I said, be a good teammate and play your butt off. And
Right.
and that's it. And the rest. And so it's the same thing. Be a good person and just put everything you have into something that you enjoy.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So going back to law school, and um, you talked about your uncles a little bit. Like, were they an influence, or was it more your dad saying go to take the LSAT?
Well, it was more my dad to push me. I think he wanted to get me out of the house. He kind of
Right, right.
saw it.
You mentioned that. What does that mean? Like, get out of the house? Like, you were already at undergrad. Were you at home for a while?
I was at the home that summer,
Okay.
and he could see I had really no idea what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I can't say on here how he said it to me,
Huh.
unless you want me to.
I mean, you could.
And with respect to him, it wouldn't. My dad's a wonderful person, but
Yep.
he kind of basically said, "Look, you got if you're not going to figure it out, go take the LSAT, apply to law school,
Right.
and in a not so gentle way."
In a not so gentle
But
way.
but my uncles did. I mean, once I decided to go that route, I really looked to them for advice, and they
Yep.
were great. They told me I didn't know what a clerkship was. I
Right.
didn't know, I didn't know what to expect from the first day of law school, and they helped, you know, kind of show me the ropes a little bit. And
Right.
yeah, that was huge, definitely.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you get out of law school, you graduate. Did you ever think of living anywhere else but Michigan?
Yeah, no, I mean, I met the love of my life right before I went to law school, and you know, we kind of she's close with her family, I'm close with my family. So yeah, I kind of felt that I was going to probably stay in Detroit.
So she's from it, her family's from Michigan and everything.
Yes,
All right.
yes.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So what was your first job after law school?
So when I was in law school, I took a class that was taught by a professor, well, a lawyer, who taught a class on tort law and auto no fault law, and did very well in his class. He offered me a job, and
Really?
so
That was easy. So like, was that like was that like your last year of law school, or?
it was,
Wow.
and it was kind of, the universe was just, it was happenstance,
Yep.
but it was something that was very well suited to my personality.
Okay.
And it was in personal injury litigation, doing auto plaintiff work.
Okay. So how long did you stay with him?
So he was in Lansing in Michigan when I was up at Michigan State, and I was living in the Detroit area. So I stayed with him for 3 years. I commuted every day, probably about an hour each way by car, which isn't that big of a deal. But when you're doing litigation, it can wear on you. And then my wife was in medical school at the time, and when she decided to do a residency in Detroit, I had to make a decision to get a job closer to home. So,
Right.
but
Right.
he was great. He taught me a lot and really mentored me. And I think mentors are so important in this business.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I agree with that 100%. I think mentors can make or break some people's careers. I mean, I think
Mm.
your wife obviously with the medical background has to go through the whole all the rounds, or like being like a resident for a while. And like, I don't know, I kind of think lawyers should have to have a year or 6 months on the job training to graduate. It also just helps them like network and get a job, you know. But
I agree. I've thought the same exact thing. That yeah, we do clerkships, but it's kind of not the same, and you get pigeonholed.
yep,
Yeah, I agree. Because I mean, the first time I went to court, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I didn't know where to stand. I didn't know, what to say. I mean, it's crazy.
right.
Doctors go through pretty formal training, thank God.
Yeah, well, that I know it's like a little different, but still, like you have lawyers sort of trying to preserve your money and assets. I mean, even though it's you have doctors working on the human body, but I think
Right.
it would be beneficial to law students, at least in my experience, um, to have like those externship. I mean, to be able to have an externship, to have a mentor who showed
Yeah,
you how to do something like day in and day out. So that's good. So you had a mentor right out of law school, showed
right.
you how to do that, and you stuck with it. So obviously you liked it, right? Like so.
I did. It did. It fit my personality. And like I said, those seeds had been planted from a young age of where I was developing this, I guess, perspective on life, which fit perfectly with what I was doing, representing injured people,
Yep.
the plaintiff lawyer.
Right, right. So what about after that? Is that when you went over to Christensen Law?
No, so I had a couple stopovers before I ended up with Dave Christensen. I feel very fortunate in my career because I've had every step of the way, I've had these different mentors, different little gurus
Yeah.
that kind of taught me what I needed to be taught at that time in my career. And initially, when I was with George at the first firm, he taught me. I mean, it was like boot camp, and it was, I worked hard. And then when I went with the Buckfire brothers, it was like, okay, now it's time to spread your wings a little bit. And they gave me more responsibility. And I was arguing in the Court of Appeals, Michigan
Wow.
Supreme Court.
Wow.
And it was great because it was like, they had confidence in me to do that. And it really helped me develop.
Wow, that's amazing. So when you were doing the Court of Appeals cases, did you have to write your own briefs and all that, or did you have to really? What
Yeah, I
was
did it
that like?
all.
I mean, I know you do it in law school, but was that like just hours upon hours upon hours?
Yeah, it was. And it was fun in a way because at that time they weren't giving me a heavy caseload. I was doing a lot of writing for them. And I was still a young lawyer. So I was, I had some cases and I was doing depths. I was doing everything. But the appeal stuff, it was kind of all on me. And I had George at my first job, I had started to develop into a pretty good writer. And then, I'm arguing before, the Michigan Court of Appeals in my
Yep.
20s. And it
Wow.
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I was winning some, and I thought, you read a published opinion with your name on it, and it
Yeah.
was like heady stuff.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So like that's precedent, right? Pretty much. So
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. That's awesome. Congrats. So you got some really good experience in your 20s at so mentor, everybody out there should know, find a mentor. That's and then you were able to go into your next job from boot camp to sort of expanding your horizons and
Right.
able to grow even more. So what was the next stop after that?
So I did a little, I went over to the defense side for a year.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and I was with a wonderful firm. I still have many friends over there, but and they were very good to me, but it just wasn't for me. I mean,
Okay.
I know a lot of great lawyers that have worked on both sides, and they're great lawyers as a defense and a plaintiff lawyer, but it's just me personally, I'm not built like that. And I just knew that I'm a plaintiff lawyer at heart. And so I went back and ended up with Dave.
Wow.
Um,
So how'd you find Dave Christensen Law?
so Dave had broken off he was with a big firm, and he had went out on his own.
Yeah, you know what? I'll probably end up mentioning this on all of my podcasts with Dave Christensen law firm attorneys, but I do have a friend who I actually met through Instagram who used to work with a couple of your attorneys there
Oh, really?
who does truck accidents. Um, he was one of the first people that I met on Instagram, like who we got him featured. We had him. He was like number 2 or 3 on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, and he does big trucking cases in Michigan too. So I think he knows a couple of your. So I'll give a shout out to Jordan Jones. I don't know if you know. I think a couple of your colleagues know him.
I'm sure they do.
Good guy, yeah, really good guy, really bright, very good business acumen. He speaks very highly of all of you. So go ahead. So he broke apart from this one firm.
Yeah. So Dave left a big firm, big plaintiff firm, and I had known Dave pretty early in my career. I had met him a few times. The first firm I had worked at, he was good friends with a lot of the partners there. And Dave has this reputation of just being a totally fearless trial lawyer, and a really cool guy at the same time. And I remember like it was yesterday, I remember sitting in court waiting on motion call. And, I was a young lawyer and I just struck up a conversation with him, and he was just really just nice and funny. And so fast forward, I don't know how many years, 10, 12 years, I wasn't happy where I was at, and I saw that I had heard he was looking to add a lawyer. He had just left his other firm and he needed to add somebody. And I mean, literally, as soon as I saw that, I picked up the phone.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to work with him.
Wow. Okay.
And the rest is, I've been there ever since.
And the rest is history. So,
yeah.
So why specifically do you like doing the PI? So I know you said it wasn't for you, went to the defense side, but like why plaintiff litigation, and like how do your clients benefit from like your own, like the way you are, like your morals and your system of values, like how you are, like how Tom Economy is?
Well, I love the personal interaction I have with my clients. And I love the fact that I get to know them on a really human level. And I'm not saying that as like cliche. I mean, that's just, if I wasn't doing this, I probably wouldn't be practicing law. And everybody's got, their interests. And it's not to say that somebody's doing bankruptcy or somebody's doing, estates or corporate law. I mean, they love it too. This is just what I love doing. And it's that human, that human connection that I really enjoy. Now, early on, I didn't know that I was going to love that.
Right.
But it was more, growing up, I kind of had developed this perspective on the world of, somebody that, you stand up for people that can't protect themselves, or you see something that's wrong and you speak up. A lot of that comes from my mother, and both my mother and father. And so that was a perfect fit, because that's what you're doing is you're getting somebody that needs your help. Their life has been turned upside down.
Yeah, I know.
And,
crazy.
When the bills are piling up and you're not working because you're hurt, and you've got kids, that's real stress. And I love, meeting people like that and helping them, because it in your 20s, you're looking for a job, everybody's just wants to have got a mortgage to pay and that's the kind of stuff. But as you get older, as I've gotten older, I find that you need more meaning in what you're doing.
Right.
Because,
I agree.
Yeah. And so that level of connection, being able to help people that really need my help, and having that fit in with my personality in terms of that social justice, the kind of bucking the system, the establishment, fighting the man kind of thing, really just resonates with me. But it's not even about me, it's really about them. And that's what it's very, very rewarding when you sit and you listen to somebody, and you learn about their life and you learn about what they've been through, and then you can help them. I mean, that's, the money's great, but you get to a point where it's more, you need more meaning than just that.
Yeah, I agree. And it sounds like you're very passionate about what you do and wanting to help people. I could tell by the way by the way you speak about it. So that's great. So like, what's your clients need most when they come to you? I mean, you're really seeing people at their worst, at the most vulnerable times. They're
Right.
going through these tragic accidents. So like what do they need most from you? And like, how does that impact like how your effort is? I think you covered some of it in that last question, but in that
Yeah.
last answer rather, but
Well, I think the biggest thing I like, what I try to do is take a step back and understand that they're coming in and they have no idea what this process is about.
right.
They're scared. There's a lot of uncertainty. So what I try to do is calm them down and explain things to them, explain the process to them, set their expectations. So I think once people know or have a roadmap of what the process is going to be like, and every, the different steps in the process, it kind of helps them calm down a little bit and have some sort of understanding so that they can kind of plan what on their end of what they're going to do in terms of dealing with what life has thrown at them. So very careful about explaining things, and sitting and just being patient,
Yeah.
and they also need somebody that is going to listen. And I think in our business sometimes, and I've been guilty of that too, where you're busy, and it's like we know what we need to know to get their case resolved or help them or win, but sometimes they need somebody to listen to the whole thing, and to they I don't want to say like a psychologist, but you do, and you have to be patient, because you know what, if you're going to represent someone in an injury case, you need to get to know them really well. And it's not just enough just to look at their medical records and look at a police report and some pictures of the accident and say, okay, this is what it's worth. It just doesn't cut it, and you got to get to know your clients. And I think when you do that, you earn their trust.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the case, whatever happens, in every case has its difficulties. If you've earned their trust because you've listened to them and you've taken time, and people can tell when you're listening, when you're not. If you're looking at your watch or your phone, or
Right.
just by the tone of your voice, I think if you develop that trust, then whatever happens, they're cool with it.
Right. Yeah. People definitely need somebody, an ear to listen to, somebody to listen to them during that time.
Yeah.
They're frantic, I'm sure, a lot of the time. So, they really need to discuss with you. That's good. So you have some experience at like the Michigan Supreme Court. Like the only thing I'm really going to ask you about that and the appellate court, like you mentioned earlier, like how did that help you? Like as like being there younger, like did that give you confidence to argue in trial courts, or to like really like push yourself to be the best that you could be, since you got exposed to that so young in your career, so early on in your career?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit it right on the nail. It gave me a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
And it helps because it made me a better writer. And every lawyer, no matter what field you're in, you have to write, typically. And so it honed my writing skills, which helps me now, even though I'm not doing appellate work now. I'm writing briefs, and it also helps you become a better communicator. Because, when you're arguing in the Court of Appeals, you've got, I don't even remember what the time limit is, but maybe 15, 20 minutes. In the Supreme Court, a little longer. Juries' attentions are very short sometimes. And so you have to be very precise and direct in your presentation, and get to the point, and be an effective communicator. So it is carried over into my trial work as well.
Okay. So how does your current firm, Christensen Law, like how does that differ from other firms, do you think? And I know you kind of explained why you wanted to go, because you met David and seemed like a good connection. But like, how does that firm, do you think, like if somebody was looking at personal injury plaintiff firms to go to, what distinguishes yours?
Well, I have a lot of friends in at a bunch of different firms, but I guess what I can say is we're a smaller firm. but we've got very highly skilled lawyers that give you very personal attention, as
Yeah.
opposed to a firm that maybe is working on a lot more volume.
Right.
And it gives us the opportunity to really get to know literally every client well. And so, I don't care if my case is worth $10,000 or $10 million. I get to know all of my clients and spend time with them. So you do get that personal attention. I think we have a great staff. So we're flexible, we're nimble because of our size, but yet we're powerful because of our experience.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. Well, you seem very happy where you are there. So that's good.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, very happy. I love the people I work with. And it starts at the top with Dave and his wife, Leslie, who have really created an amazing place to work.
Yeah. How many attorneys are there?
We've got 5 attorneys.
Yep.
And I think we're about 18 total support staff.
Wow.
And we try a lot of cases too. I mean, we pride ourselves on saying, okay, we are not afraid to go to trial.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's awesome. So, Tom, is there anything we left out about your career, or about growing up in Michigan, or suburbia Detroit, or what you're doing now, or about the firm that you want to cover? I want to make sure we get everything in there.
No, I think we covered it all. I mean, I really feel, especially in this day and age, I've gotten to a point in my career in the firm reflects this. We all feel very strongly about protecting individual people, because, we're in a country now where, money is really such a focus, and business and corporations have so much power, even in Washington, and where they're kind of pulling the strings and people are getting crushed. And the beautiful thing about a courtroom is that it levels that playing field. And,
Yep.
we can walk into a courtroom and there's, in Michigan, we've got 8 people that are from the community that are going to decide a case.
Right.
And you can't throw lobbyists at a jury. And that really, to me, is so important, because I think we've lost our humanity a little bit, and being able to, and it doesn't always work out, and sometimes there isn't justice, but when you do get that justice, it's really a beautiful thing. And to be able to do that with the people that I work with at Christensen Law, and to get into a foxhole with some of the lawyers that I work with and fight is really gratifying.
That's awesome. And you guys all like share ideas. If you want to talk about a theory of the case,
Oh yeah,
you're in somebody else's office talking about it.
We try all our cases together. We're constantly collaborating all the time, every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, congrats on your success, and being where you are, and all good things.
Well, congrats to you, Benny, because I think this is a great platform that you have, and it's unique, and I think it's a beautiful thing, because I think you're going to help inspire a lot of young lawyers.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate those kind words, Tom. And we started it'll be 4 years in July, but the podcast has been around since February 2020, and we're just sort of doing our thing, seeing how far we could take it. But I gotta say, I have a great time meeting people like you, and coming onto the podcast and talking about life a little bit, and what led them to become an attorney, and what they're doing now, and that sort of thing. So, we appreciate you being here and spending time with us.
Well, thank you for having me. And by the way, I didn't mean to mention my Pistons, but how about we can share our affinity for Tommy Brady?
Oh yeah. Well, he did leave. Is that like a backhanded sort of like?
No, I thought you guys still the
no, we
do.
Most people do, and we still love Tom Brady here. I mean, I have, for the Super Bowl, I had the orange Buccaneer shirt with the Tom Brady head on it. I was definitely going for the Bucs, and I hope he wins it again this year. So
yeah, we do.
Thank you. Tom Brady, Michigan, right? Got it. Number 9 in Michigan.
That's a connection.
That's actually, I went to a Michigan-Ohio State game once in Michigan at the Big House.
Oh, really?
Years ago. Yeah, that was good. I don't think they were too competitive back then. I think Ohio State won.
Yeah,
But
they've been winning for a while.
Yeah, huge place. Cool place too. Good experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so go Blue.
Yeah, go Blue.
There you go. All right, so everybody else, thanks for tuning in. Stay right there, Tom. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.